Welcome into episode 219. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at Bailey J. Adams 22, at by CA Simmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. You can also email us at Pegasus Podcast by KSN at gmail.com. Off the top, we've got a few housekeeping announcements to make. One, Christian is on a cruise. He's recording from a cruise right now, cruise ship. I am recording, I was going to say in the middle of a thunderstorm, but I'm not in the middle of it. I'm in my apartment safely, but there is a big thunderstorm going on right now, a lot of rain. So this could be the worst production value our podcast has ever had, but you guys don't really come to us for the production value, I don't think. Second announcement, if you're watching on YouTube, that means it worked and the video was usable. If I said that and you're like, well, I had to go over to Spotify or your choice of podcast platform, then yeah, sorry about the YouTube video because there's a lot going on right now. And third, like I said, Christian's on a cruise and I had my vacation last week. So I'm coming off of my first day back at work. Christian is on a cruise. So how are you, Christian?
Doing well, except
Did I
for
get everything?
all of the things you just said. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, we're gonna hope this works on YouTube, but I'm the one who records the actual video component of this, and I am using cruise ship Wi-Fi, which is known for being the best most of the time. And it's already been difficult to have Bailey not be glitchy as hell, so we'll just see how that goes. But yeah, here we are, doing this.
From my point of view, you're glitchy. That was sort of a Star Wars reference.
I'm so glad because I was about to say I was like that reminded me of Star Wars, but then you
Yeah,
covered that.
it was.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is what's stupid as all hell is this is the second time I've done this podcast from a cruise ship. But it's a bigger problem this time because when I did it last time, it was like a year and a half ago and we didn't have the YouTube version yet. So we didn't have to worry about video quality, but boy, do we now. So we'll see how this goes.
In hindsight, what's maybe dumber is that we could have recorded yesterday and we both were kind of just like, nah, we'll do it tomorrow.
We also I had no plans yesterday. I just was like, I
Me
don't really
neither.
feel like doing that right
Me
now.
neither, and I wasn't really feeling well like when we
Yeah.
talked about it. But I was like, I can feel fine enough by the evening if you want to do it tonight. And you're like, no, let's just do it
But when you
tomorrow.
said you felt bad, I was like, I wasn't like awesome. Like, I don't think it's good that you felt bad, but I did not feel like doing the podcast yesterday. So when you were like, let's not, which that is so, that's my procrastinating brain in a nutshell. That I was like, I'd rather wait till I'm on vacation to do the podcast than just do it on a Sunday where I'm doing nothing. But what can you do?
It's great. Yeah. So today we've got fall, a little bit of fall camp updates, some more press conferences, obviously, in the last week or so. And then we're going to get into some UCF season predictions. We've got 3 predictions each and our record predictions. Yeah, this will surely be a very positive podcast. I'm sure all of our predictions are, about how UCF is going to go undefeated and KJ is going to maybe win a Heisman, and it's going to be great. All sunshine and rainbows. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
I
be
love
great.
how we vowed very publicly on this podcast we were never going to do predictions again, and now we're doing an entire podcast that is just predictions. But what can you do?
Sometimes you just need content when you're waiting for football season.
It's true.
Um, I'll let you take the lead on the press conference stuff because you were at the press conference on Saturday.
I was.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
Shot that I learned in real time that was the scrimmage that the shareholders were allowed to watch. I learned that when I could not find parking and freaked out, but worked out. We're okay. There weren't any crazy earth-shattering updates from this press conference. You've probably seen most of this on social media if you're that level of UCF fan. One interesting thing, this was a lot more. This sounded like a much more casual scrimmage than the first one. They did some 7-on-7. A lot of it was just working out how the technological aspect was going to work for them because this year, for the first time ever, college football teams can have tablets like you see in the NFL. So Gus said a lot of the scrimmage was getting that sorted out of exactly how that's going to work. Gus kept calling them iPads. I think they're Microsoft's Surface tablets, right? I think
yeah.
because different
I
conferences announced different deals.
I think the
But
Big 12 has Microsoft, and I think someone's probably gonna have to get in Gus's ear about that because I don't know that
well,
with that
that's
whole
actually why it was notable to me because if I remember right, the SEC and Big Ten announced iPad deals, and the Big 12 announced Microsoft, whatever the hell those are called. So, which it says a lot about Microsoft's that I'm like iPads or whatever the heck the other ones are called. But
I
so
literally am
yeah,
recording this podcast on a Microsoft Surface, so
are you really okay?
yeah, that's my
I am
laptop.
recording this on a Dell, but anyway, not that that matters to literally a single person, including myself. But yeah, so there weren't going to be like earth-shattering updates from the scrimmage. If you're like I said, if you're the type of UCF fan who's super obsessed, which you might be, you've seen like a lot of the shareholders have been talking about what they saw at the scrimmage and things that impressed them, things that more notably did not impress them, whatever. I feel like I don't like repeating that stuff as much because I listen, there are some people who go there and are very smart and provide some good detail, but at the end of the day, it's like a lot of us just fans, and it's like I don't know. Just because one random shareholder is like this player looked bad, I don't know if it's like a podcast topic, so I feel like we
Yeah.
avoid that. But other updates are Penny Boone got a lot of praise, and we also got to speak to him. He had 2 touchdowns, I believe, on the day, and he kind of played them down. He was asked about his performance and he was like, yeah, no, I wish I'd done better. I want to break off for more yards, whatever. And then I forget the player. It might have been Brandon Adams. Another player was asked about him and was like, oh yeah, he straight up trucked a defender to score a touchdown earlier today. So sounds like Penny Boon's living up to the hype. Brandon Adams was asked who he thinks will be starting opposite him at corner and was kind enough to give us everyone in the running. He said it's between Antoine Jackson, Matt McWilliams with a little bit of Chasen Johnson and a little bit of Jakari Henderson in there as well. So that's where things stand.
I appreciate whoever asked that question because I don't think like normally we get like I don't know if anyone normally asks players straight up because players will tell you more like they're not as media trained as Gus Malzahn is, so players will tell you more stuff sometimes. So to just straight up ask who's going to start on the other side, genius.
Well, it's always you never know. Like literally last week, I asked Miles Montgomery something along the lines of who was standing out to him on offense, and his answer was like no one, like everyone's great, which is fair. Like it's a tough situation for a player, but so players are always wild cards. Of some will just tell you, some you will get nothing, but you can just have to ask and see what happens. But yeah, so I guess there weren't any shocks there at corner. I think that's Mac McWilliams. I don't know. I didn't know what to make of him just because he was such a late addition and someone we had never heard of, but he's gotten a lot of praise early on, so it sounds like he'll be in the mix. Sounds like the defense is going well. Sounds like everything defensive wise has been pretty good through fall.
Yeah, the only thing I always point back to with Mac McWilliams, because maybe it's the only thing I know about him, is that he was a team captain at UAB. That's all I know. That's all I have.
That's our new thing we say. We should open the podcast with that. Next week we'll be like, welcome into episode 220 of the Pegasus Podcast. Mac McWilliams was a team captain at UAB, and we're excited to see him at UCF, where he is not a team captain. Do you think that bothers a player when they're a team captain at one stop and they leave and they don't get it at the next stop?
No, I don't think so. I think he probably leave knowing like, I feel like it's hard, and I know it's going to sound stupid saying this because all of the captains, I believe, are transfers.
Every single one.
But not all of them are like first-year transfers like that. They didn't just get here and
half of them are, though.
Are they? I forgot who the captains are already. So.
KJ and Ethan Barr are both captains, right?
Oh, that's true. But Ethan was here. Well, they were both here for spring. Wasn't Mac McWilliams a spring addition? Like I think he came in after.
You know what? That's a good point.
Yeah.
I actually would be really impressed if he showed up for what? How long would he have been here by the time they voted? Like never would have even seen the practice field with them. Maybe done like a walkthrough, and they were like, "We love this guy so much that we want him to be one of the leaders of our team." That would actually,
I wonder if he got like a single vote. He might have gotten. Like, someone was like, "I just really like this guy. We're vibing on day one together, so I'm gonna vote for him."
Is that how they do it? They vote, or is it like I don't know?
I think the players vote. Yeah.
I want to ask about.
I don't know
how, but like, how does it vote? Do they have like a primary and then they have a nominating convention? Like, how do they actually like decide? Is it just like put names in a hat? I'd actually be curious about the process there. Like, here's the way I'd ask it: is it like, do the coaches give them a pool of players and are like, who do you want your captains to be?
Or do you just write in 4 people?
Or do you just write in 4? Yeah, I don't know.
I would like it better if you just write in 4 people, because then I have to imagine like I guess it wouldn't be Gus Malzahn. It's probably like one of the GAs or somebody going through like the hat. Then have to like make out all of
what
the
if,
like handwriting.
What if they literally do it Survivor style? Like they get it and Gus Malzahn in the middle of the meeting room with everyone just pulls it. It's like KJ Jefferson pulls out another one. Dylan Risk. And then it's like they do the shock reactions like in Survivor. Like there's a 5th KJ Jefferson and heads start turning like, oh, I think KJ is going to be one of the captains.
That'd be fun. I hope they do. I hope they do that.
When I'm a head football coach,
sure they don't.
That's how I'll do it. I'm certain they don't do it that way, but I hope they listen to this podcast and say that's a great idea. And they could make it content. They could put that. They could do a Twitter live or whatever we're doing these days, a Twitch stream of Gus Malzahn deciding the captain.
People can send in super chats and donations and do all that. It makes money.
I'm giving the kingdom free money right now. SJ, anyone, if you're listening or someone who knows you is listening, let the fans pick one of the captains each year. Like donate $25,000 and you can pick one of UCF's 4 captains, and they can be like they can be like the fans captain or whatever.
It's so not worth it.
Don't tell me some fan would not pay a dumb amount of money to pick one of the captains.
I mean, it's probably true, but.
Free money.
It's just somebody that has more money than they,
just make an additional captain. Keep the number 4 and just have a 5th. That's like, this is the fan's captain. And he just gets to walk out there with the other guys all because some fan wanted him to.
It makes it sound like a fan liaison. Like the fans captain's going to have to like interact with the fans more and stuff. But and then the player who gets chosen is like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is horrible.
I'm giving these ideas away for free. Like, just do what you want with them. But those were all the updates from the presser. I think we've pretty much covered it.
Yeah, and the only thing I have like from the pressers is like Gus Malzahn's been weird. He's been a little strange.
Yeah, I know some people have been saying that.
Like I don't know, his like, and we talked about it last week, so we don't have to really get into it too much. But like his vibe has just been a lot different than it was last year, which maybe could be a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about this presser, this one that just happened, because I know like you mentioned that and a couple other people on Twitter mentioned that, like, oh, he just seemed kind of off, was like it's that was kind of not a normal scrimmage because you had all the shareholder folks there, and then there were events with them right after the scrimmage. So I think it might have just been like a very
Mm,
busy morning and very busy day ahead of him. So I'm not like overly reading into it, but yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
It's probably let me check this box off and get on to the next thing because yeah, I did not know there was something after the press conference. He's
I mean,
probably
I personally, as a media member, have always assumed the highlight of Gus's day is fielding questions from us. But yeah,
yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from that. I don't really have anything from the press conferences. I'm just enjoying getting something as we're getting closer
we're
to
just getting very. It's very weird to realize that. I forget when I realized this. It might have been when I was asking a question, but like along the lines of when you're asking a player, like, what do you want to improve on the most in the next like 2 weeks before the game? And you realize, oh, we're like here. Like it
yeah.
is right here, which is so freaking exciting.
Like I imagine, actually, I don't really know because it's. I know they do game prep even though it's New Hampshire, but like I imagine that'll start probably would be next week. Do you think, or maybe not till actual game week? I don't
I
know. I would
don't.
imagine they start to put it in like like that a week and a half early
I
for the
really
opener. I don't
mean,
know.
my really mean answer is like, what do you mean prep for New Hampshire? Like,
You got to do something.
no, I know it's obviously we're gonna prep for New Hampshire. I just always, I got to keep that. I've been calling these fake games for the entire offseason. I kind of just got to roll through with those now.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, we're we're under no, we're over 2 weeks. I keep saying 2 weeks because I keep counting down to week 0 instead of week 1. But 2 weeks from Thursday is UCF's opener against New Hampshire. So it's time to get some season predictions, even though, like we said, I think it was after 2021 or was it 2022 where we swore off week by week predictions.
2022, we got rid of them. We did them for the
Hmm.
first 2021 and 2022 seasons last year. We said we were done with it. I think that around that was you predicted like 9 weeks in a row or something that Brandon Adams would record his first interception, and still to this day does not have an interception with UCF. And I think that killed it.
Well, don't spoil one of my 3 season predictions for
Don't tell me.
2024.
Did you really?
No, I didn't, but I was going to.
Okay.
But now that you already mentioned it, I can't
I
break it
should say
out.
that we set no parameters on what these predictions can be. These are just broad, predict anything you want
Actually,
for season. What?
I had a hard time coming up with these 3 predictions. This was my idea to do the predictions podcast, I think. And I don't remember what made me think to do it, but I was like coming up with them and I was like, wow, all 3 of these are like pretty negative. So then I ended up with 2 negative ones and 1 positive one. Well,
I
yeah,
I'm getting more negative the closer we get to the season, but that also
me
happens to
too.
me every single year. So I'm not. I wouldn't necessarily read into that. I do this
Do
every
you,
single
do you want
season.
me to scare you?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you know this, but if I put it to you in these terms, it might scare you. You know how, like, normally getting closer to the season, like, I'm getting more and more hyped, and I'm
Yeah, we
like,
used to
more and
argue about
more.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this year, that's not the case. The closer we get, the more and more I'm feeling like an impending sense of doom is about to happen.
I think
So,
part of it, honestly, is that it's a lot easier when you assemble a very good team in the offseason to be like, we're going to win the Big 12. And then when you're 2 weeks out, you're looking at the schedule, you're like, that's a lot of games they could lose. Like, it's just, it's not, the AAC days are gone, man. Every year, it's
yeah.
just going to be a lot of freaking tough teams. 5 Big 12 teams and the AP Top 25 that came out today. It's a freaking deep conference, man.
Yeah, it's
UCF
gonna be
doesn't have to
fun.
play most of them, which I guess is good. But do UCF only play one of them? Two of them, Utah and
2 of them.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Utah and Arizona. So.
Yep. All right. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
No, I
Should I
think you should
start
go
off this
first. Why don't you start us
fun?
off?
Should I give you one of my negatives first? Actually, I guess this is a negative and a positive. This is a neutral one. I'll do that.
Okay. I feel like a
Um,
negative and a positive and a neutral aren't the same thing, but go ahead.
well, it's both.
Okay.
I'm referring to this. I don't know if this is patented yet, but I'm saying the Gus Malzahn trend will continue, and that is UCF will win one of its biggest games, and then they'll lose a game it has no business losing.
Can I give you my first prediction? Can I give you my first
Sure.
prediction?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been sitting on this one for a while. So, my first prediction is that UCF will beat Florida and they will
Okay.
lose to Cincinnati at home the next week.
Ugh.
That's my first
What will that like
prediction.
2 week swing be like?
Can't you just see that, man? Like, can't you just imagine like the hype and the joy of them going into the swamp, beating Florida? It's like, oh my God, this is awesome, a huge crowning achievement moment. And they just like fall flat against a mess Cincinnati team the next week. Like, doesn't that just feel like what this experience has been these last
Yeah.
few years?
It does, and I was purposefully less specific with mine, but like they have the opportunities for winning some of these big games. Like I'd consider Colorado, Florida, Utah, at West Virginia. I mean, there's other ones, but I think those are like the 4 biggest probably. And I could see them winning any or all of those games, but then
Yep.
I could see them also losing to like a BYU at home, maybe Cincy or Arizona State on the road, or just even a game because like last year's game for this example I don't know if you agree, probably, but like the game that they lost, they shouldn't have lost, was the game they led by 28 points against Baylor. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there was another game last year that like they should have won that. I mean, there were other games they had opportunities to win in the moment, but like I don't
Yeah,
know if
I
there was
think
an
I
opponent.
agree. I think I agree.
I don't think there was an opponent that like going into the game you were like, oh, they should absolutely beat this team, and then they lost.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Okay, so yeah, Baylor was that last year, and they beat Oklahoma State. That was the game that we thought no shot. Then the year before, it was beating Cincy and Tulane, and then losing to both ECU and Navy. I mean,
Yeah, it's just, and that was the thing about 2022 was the craziest one, right? Because they literally, and this has always kind of been the thing under Gus, is they tend to just play their best in their biggest games, which sounds like a good thing, but it's just then you kind of have the Navies and these Carolinas and the Baylors. Because even last year, right? Like one of their most competitive games was Oklahoma. It made no sense that they were in that game, and they went on the road and came within 2 points of knocking off. What was Oklahoma ranked at that point? They were one of the
six, I think.
top 10 teams in the country. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's that trend to me, like that's kind of why all aside from matchups, talent, all the like actual things that you might look at to determine a game, I just have good vibes about the Florida game because it feels like Gus has been open about how important that game is. And it just feels like the game that he's going to lock in on and they're going to prep crazy hard for and have some stuff up their sleeve for, and they'll win it. But there's always a letdown after. It's like they never carry that momentum. It's always like they fall flat then against the team that they shouldn't have an issue with. And I think this year it's particularly prime for that because I think UCF, you tell me, I've kind of felt like this offseason in particular, it seems like UCF fans have moved on a little bit from the Cincinnati rivalry. Like I haven't seen nearly as much, which this is all in the bubble of UCF social media, which is a little smidge in itself of the entire fan base. But that I think just them being on different wavelengths as far as what they're planning to achieve this year, that hasn't had the heat behind it that it has in past years. And I can just see UCF coming to that game and it's like, we're just not talking about that like we usually talk about a Cincinnati game. And for Cincy, like, they want to win that, obviously, and they're trying to have a better season. And I don't know. I just think Cincy's the team where we're just assuming they're going to be very bad again because they were last year. But we've talked about we do this every offseason. All the teams that were good last year will be good again, and all the bad ones will be bad. And it's early enough in the year that maybe Cincinnati's better than we thought, and we haven't really realized that yet. I don't know. I felt like if there was a point to pick for that to happen, it was that 2-game swing to me.
And I think that's true to an extent with Cincinnati because, and I think last year there was probably a little bit of a difference, but even felt it a little bit last year where it's like, they're no longer even close to being UCF's biggest game on the schedule anymore.
Yeah.
So fans don't zero in on that game the same way. Like this year, when you look at it, it's like most of the games are bigger than the Cincinnati game considering, the level that they were at last year. And yeah, we don't know. Maybe they will be better. I just don't think they're going to be that good. I'm saying that based off of not very much, but I just don't think Satterfield's that good of a coach.
I haven't done a deep dive into them, but like Cincinnati media and fans don't seem thrilled with the progress they've made this offseason. And it seems like quarterback, it's not a question mark. Like they haven't officially named a starter, but I think everyone knows who it's going to be. And it's a guy that is a transfer. I forget where he came in from. I believe that it doesn't sound like fans are super thrilled with, but you make a good point though. It's like, we're just going to rank all 12 games right now on like hype factor. Cincinnati would come in like 9th, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'd be, the only ones that they'd be behind, or sorry, I can't think of the way to say
ahead
this. Ahead of, I guess. New Hampshire, Sam Houston,
BYU,
maybe Arizona State.
BYU in there too.
Yeah, BYU, Arizona State.
But all the other ones like Utah, West Virginia, Colorado, Florida, TCU,
Arizona, all of them.
Space game, yeah.
I
don't know. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too. I hope they win all the games, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. What if it does?
All right.
We're going to have this stressful offseason, and they're going to go in there. They'll literally just go 12-0. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, it would. It'd be fun. That's the word I'd use to describe it. Funny. Not like all of my dreams coming true, but
hear me out. 12-0. Lose the Big 12 title game in a rematch with Utah. Still make the playoff, though, because you're 12-1. Lose the first round playoff game. How would fans react to that season?
I mean, they'd react to it as if it was a choke job.
Which it would be.
If that was the case, yeah. If that was the case, would the home playoff game or the playoff game be at home or no?
Probably, because if they were undefeated, they're probably a top 5 team. So unless Utah like destroys them or something, I don't know. This is a dumb hypothetical. I do have this weird theory because obviously winning 12 games is very cool, but I think a 12-2 season where you lose your conference title game and bowl game is the worst type of year you can have. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't know. There's something about that to me.
I think it's not the worst type of year you can have, but I think it's like...
I think UCF quite literally had the worst type of year you can have in 2015, but still, I don't know. There's just something about that. Like Iowa did like maybe 5-6 years ago. I just remember it's just the worst thing.
Maximum pain, maybe?
Didn't you even get it like... even 2022, where UCF goes 9-3, lose the like whenever you lose the conference title game and the bowl game, I just always have the sense the season's over, and I'm like, what was the point of all that? Like, it's just like, why did we do that? 2017 Miami is a perfect example. Yeah,
they were what 11-0. They lost the season finale to Pitt.
They went from 10-0 to 10-3 or something like that.
Yeah, so okay, they were 10-0. Maybe they had a game canceled or something. They were 10-0. They lost to Pitt in the season finale. They were number 2 at the time. Then they lost the ACC title game, so I'm assuming Clemson at that point, right?
2017,
and then, yeah. And then they lost the bowl game to Wisconsin.
Yep.
So I
mean, in their own stadium. It was Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Home game.
Yeah.
In unrelated news, Miami is ranked in the preseason top 25 coming off their where did they go last year? They go 5-7, 7
maybe
7-5?
5-7, 6-6. I don't know. 7-5. Not good.
I know they've gone 7-5 one time and 5-7 and one time with Cristobal's first 2 seasons. I just don't remember the order they came in. Either way, definitely screams rank them.
Cristo fraud.
Okay.
Should I go with my positive one or my negative one?
I don't have any positive ones, so you can go with whatever you think it's. That's a lie. I have a positive one, but whatever you think is best.
All right, I'll just go in order with the way I have them written down.
Okay.
I have this will be Ted Roof's first and only year as UCF's defensive coordinator.
I like that one. And you know what's funny? I think that's completely independent of how the defense performs this year. I feel like that's just going to be what happens.
His track record is just kind of like that, for one. I mean, I think in Oklahoma, I think he was there for 2 years. But before that, he was going year to year everywhere he was. And I think there are a bunch of reasons this could be the case. Like, I think he's coached forever. He could decide, this one more year he retires. Maybe Gus leaves or Gus retires, and new head coach better not keep Ted Roof on. Maybe he becomes UCF's new head coach and not.
I was going to say that would be the funniest version. Is Terry Mahadra is like, I click with this guy. He has a vision. He has a plan. He really understands the distribution of task necessary to be good at football.
Never heard of a distribution of task before.
I'm going to back up your take because I think, I don't know, this is just me speculating, but I've wondered at times if Roof was kind of almost like a rental hire, right? Like we know that Gus is really big on Addison Williams and his future as a coach. And obviously last year didn't go awesome, but Addison Williams was not fired. He was retained. And I think that, I don't know, I think you could make a case that was Ted Roof brought in to be UCF's DC for years to come, or was he brought in to like right the ship and sort of like help coach up Addison to be that guy again down the line? I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that this was meant as some like, as long as Gus is at UCF, Ted Roof has a job. I don't know if that was what.
I also don't get the vibe though that Ted Roof is. I'm sure he probably is, but the vibe he gives off isn't like mentor to Addison Williams. Like
not after that question, it's not.
No.
Yeah, but
sounds like he hates that Addison Williams is still here. But
like I said, I haven't heard. I could be totally wrong. I don't know if that's the case. Yeah. I just wondered at the time because especially when Addison was retained, this wasn't like, wow, got to get this guy out of here. It was just, we're gonna go a different direction for now.
Yeah, I just don't. For some reason I was thinking about like just how the season plays out, but like in almost any scenario, I would be surprised if Ted Roof is still the defensive coordinator in 2025. So, which
you're right, but I was going to say you're right. I believe I'm the one who said this, so I'm just telling myself I was correct. But it is just totally independent of what the defense does. I think whether the defense is welcome to Pegasus Podcast, where I just pat myself on the back for all my great takes. But I feel like the defense could be way better than expected this year, or it could be awful. And I feel like in either of those situations, there's a strong chance he's just not back next year.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope the defense is great. I want to be wrong.
Really? I hope it sucks.
I want to be wrong about Ted Roof, but I feel like every week at this point, I'm like, Ted Roof's terrible.
We need to stop after every prediction being like, well, to be clear, we hope it's good. Of course, we hope it's good.
Yeah. I hope they go 12-0 and then lose the conference title game and lose the first round playoff.
I have another prediction that I think goes hand in hand
with
this one. Well, there was more to the sense, Bailey.
We're doing predictions, so
big news. I made more than one. Can I say my next one?
Yes, you can.
This hot take. We're dropping a scorching hot take here that I actually believe, which is why I'm saying it. I'm predicting that UCF's defense will outshine the offense in the 2024 season.
That's a scary thought.
Scary thought, right? As my eyes get very wide, I'm like, scary thought, isn't it? I honestly, this is just straight up recency bias from what's been going on in fall camp, but it has just sounded like there's been nothing but positive buzz about the defense, and you never ever know until you actually get out there. Like this is literally my favorite story of this ever, which I think I've told the podcast before. Who was the I can't, I don't have Wi-Fi on my phone because I'm on a cruise ship. I can only have one device at a time, so I can't look it up. The really good Michigan State running back from a few years ago, Kenneth Walker, that was his name, right?
Yes.
They
Mm-hmm.
brought in Kenneth Walker, and he almost like he was a Heisman contender late in the season. They brought in Kenneth Walker, because they knew starting running back. And when they started the season, Michigan State thought they were gonna have a really bad year because they were like, our run defense is disgustingly bad. Like the coaches talk about this, like we have no answers for our running backs. This is ridiculous. Then the season started, and they were like, oh, Kenneth Walker's just really good. And it was like their run defense was fine. They just been going up against who ended up being one of the best running backs in the country. And so you never, ever actually know. But all that being said, there's just been nothing but positive stuff said about the defense. It sounded like they hit on a lot of these transfers. We've heard good stuff about Pace, about Tennyson, about Antoine Jackson, about Matt McWilliams. We've heard good stuff about younger players and freshmen like Chasen Johnson. It feels like Ethan Barr, like the linebackers.
Yeah.
It just feels like every step, and we know what they have at D-line. It just feels like every step of the way, it's been positive news for the defense these last few weeks. And the offense, there hasn't been negative news, but there's been more of, we're working things through. We're figuring out where guys fit. They're still working on the O-line. Marcellus Marshall was at center in the scrimmage. I don't totally know what that's about. And they said Walt Claire Flynn has an injury, but they think he'll be back starting this next week. But it just sounds like the offense is still more of a work in progress, which isn't unusual by any means in fall camp. But I don't know. Just based off of that, I'm at the point now where I'm like, this feels like one of those classic things where we could have totally wrong, where the offense is good and not like a giant disappointment, but the defense is just the unit that is keeping them in games. Like in my head, I'm realizing when I'm imagining UCF losing games this year, I'm not really imagining the defense getting crushed. I'm just imagining an offense that can't perform in key moments. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious about this because again, it's not abnormal for an offense to be a little behind and kind of installing things still. But the only thing I'll wonder and worry about with this situation is this is the same. I mean, it's different players and new players, but it's the same system. It's still Gus. It's still this offense, and supposedly KJ is the guy that you brought in to be the perfect fit in this offense. Meanwhile, there's all the new guys on defense, and it's a new defensive coordinator, and it's going better. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a natural order of like defenses. I don't know if it's easier to pick up, but it's like something that they've picked up just more naturally than the offense. But
let me throw in a caveat really quickly that it seems to be going better. We don't actually know. That's just the vibe that's coming out of camp. But yeah.
Or they're overcompensating.
And I'll be clear, this is a hot take because the offense has a lot of weapons. We've been talking about that all offseason. It's not like that's not true anymore. From KJ to RJ Harvey to Kobe Hudson. I just got a notification that my internet connection is unstable, so we'll see how that goes. To Penny Boone coming in. I might have said his name already. I'm panicking now over the internet. It's fine. Like they have weapons on offense. And it's just, I guess they have so many weapons that I kind of thought by 2 weeks into spring ball and 2 scrimmages, we'd be hearing a little more about how lights out the offense is performing. And we're just kind of not yet, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because as you said, that's kind of the way this typically goes, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
I picked Jacoby Jones for breakout transfer literally because he had a good scrimmage last week. We haven't heard a word about him since. So like I'm just all in on recency bias off these pressers right now, which is fine.
That's great. That's all we have, really. So that's what we got to do. Okay, so that was your second one. My third and final of the predictions before we get to record predictions.
Wait. Does it say positive or negative prediction? I got to get in the right headspace.
It's a positive prediction.
Oh, okay.
And it's a simple one. It's that the space game magic will continue against Arizona. They're going to just find a way to beat Arizona. And it might be a blowout just because that's how these things go. They score 1,000,000 points and play their best game of the year because they're wearing really cool uniforms. I don't know if it's because they're wearing really cool uniforms, but that's what we'll go with.
Yeah, here's the problem. Arizona is a very, very, very good team. They were very good last year. They're ranked this year. They return a lot of good players. They return a really, really good quarterback. And I just can't get myself to even care about that game entirely because I'm like, they'll win it. I really seriously am not even joking. I've realized in my head that every time I play out the season in my head or like look at games, I just skip over that one because I'm like space game, which is so dumb for so many reasons because let's be clear, there is not actual magic involved here. They absolutely, like if Alabama decided to come to the bounce house for the space game, UCF's not going to win the space. Bailey's nodding his head like actually.
You don't know that.
But I don't know. It was after the Oklahoma State one last year. It just kind of does feel like there's something there. And there are weird things in college football like this that just kind of happen. And I do think there's some science behind it. Like, let me give you my scientist take. And my scientist take is that there is a lot of hype around that game. You'll be shocked to know this since I'm all about the uniforms. I do believe that players play like 0.5% better when they feel like they're wearing cool uniforms. I don't know I really do think that's a thing. I think 2013 UCF would have had way fewer close games if George O'Leary had broke out the black jerseys a few times. But I just think there's an energy around that game. And it's just what's interesting about it is it's the very rare game where there is an energy around it for one team and not the other. Like when Oklahoma State shows up, it's just another road game in the regular season. But for UCF, there's meaning to it. And I feel like that it's a very slight, subtle thing, but I feel like that does slightly tip the scales for UCF that it's a big game for them always, and it's not for the team they're playing.
Yeah. 2015 UCF doesn't go 0-12 if they had cooler uniforms.
They might. They might. Do you remember late in 2015, they started like after O'Leary quote unquote retired, they started like breaking out random combos he never let them wear. Like I think it was like the Tulsa game late that year. They wore like black pants on the road, which like we had not seen black pants since the USF game in 2013. It was just random stuff like that.
No, I don't think I remember that happening.
It was great for me. I was
at
like,
that
cool.
point, I was questioning my decision to go to UCF because that was my senior year of high school.
Were you actually questioning your decision? Were sports part of your college decision?
Not like central, like not like in a huge way, but like I could not have gone to a school that didn't have like a football program or a D1 football program.
We have a mutual friend who heavily weighed like not just if the sports teams were fun, but like the future prospects of the sports programs. Like I remember when I lived with him talking about this, and he was like he'd considered UConn and UCF, and was like, look at the trajectory of their programs to figure out where you wanted to go. So that is the thing. I'm not judging anybody.
You want to have fun while you're there.
You do.
That's what's fun for me. Yeah.
We had a lot of fun.
I don't know. I was just getting made fun of a lot because UCF was in the middle of an 0-12 season, and I think like I was like one of 3 people in my class to end up going to UCF. So people were like,
I have to be in the 1% of the 1% of UCF fans, I think. And I stopped going to games late in that season. I just couldn't do it.
That's why you said, do you remember how they broke out these combos? And I was like, no, after a certain point, I don't remember those games. The only one I remember late in the season was the Thanksgiving game against USF.
And I went to the USF game because in my absolutely demented brain, believed I was like, we could win. Because remember, USF was having they were having their like first respectable season in like a while. And I was just in my head, I was like, we could ruin it all by just beating them. And UCF
didn't even come close.
Did not come close to beating them. There were also 6 people at that game. It was me and 5 other people.
That guy that they always show in that one meme that everybody always uses.
Has anyone ever found that guy to beat somebody?
I don't know. I hope he's doing well.
I hope he's doing well too. I hope they didn't lose him before 2017. Like I hope he came back for that.
I hope so. I'm surprised. Like I'm surprised that wasn't maybe a thing because like in the middle of 2017 undefeated season, like someone should have found that guy and done a story on him, been like, hey, this
how would you even go about finding him?
Oh, I have no idea.
We both went to school for journalism. We're like, how would you go about finding a random person?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm far enough removed from I guess journalism school to be like, I don't know what would be ethical as far as trying to find him and not.
I would personally go in some UCF fan groups, Twitter, Facebook groups, just post a photo. Does anybody know this guy? Anybody know somebody who knows this guy? And see if something broke that way. Let's do it.
Because he's at that game alone, wasn't he? Like there's no one else in the frame.
Wait, so you think that means he doesn't have friends? Like you're like, how would anyone know? He just appeared at the game alone.
It's just funny that I don't know if you did post the picture and everyone was like, no one knows.
What if it was like an inside operation? What if it was like a USF fan who was posing as a UCF fan to like get the iconic photo and make UCF look bad?
This is the thing is I want to be like, come on, but like it's college football, so like that is probably happening.
It's not that crazy.
Yeah, it's not. Things like
that.
The
sign, if I remember correctly, was like green and gold, wasn't it?
It was like sign? Like a neon yellow, and I think it had green lettering. We just came up with a conspiracy theory, like from 2015 on the 2024 season.
Let's intentionally spread this like it's fact. Like, let's start telling people, like, listen, like I heard that the beat somebody guy was actually a USF.
That might be a way to find him too, because then he'd come out and be like, no, I literally have a UCF diploma.
Yeah, you're like, let's smoke him out. Let's spread lies. And
yeah.
See.
Yeah. All right. Your third prediction. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
To be clear, I don't actually think that he was a USF fan, but go ahead.
But it could be possible. I know I haven't. You go ahead. It's your third prediction.
Oh, okay. I lost track. Well, we can end on a positive one. My final prediction is that UCF will enter the month of November squarely in the Big 12 title race.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I do believe that.
That's a positive one.
Because you look at their pre-November games are at TCU, Colorado, Cincinnati, at Iowa State, and BYU. The only one of those I feel really bad about is Iowa State. Like, I think there's a very real chance they're 4-1.
I think there's a real chance.
And even if they're not, even if they're what 3-2, they still might be in the title race just because they have big games left and because the Big 12 is going to be so close together. So I like those chances of us getting that final month of the season and UCF having a path and being in those conversations. And I think that's the advantage of how even the Big 12 is that that's going to create some hype for UCF. And I think basically, unless they are wildly worse than we're anticipating, which is always possible, they are going to have some big games late in the season that are going to get talked about.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I was originally going to be like, I'm not so sure, but when you made the point, like even if they're 3-2, they'll probably still be in it just because of the way this conference is. Because like I do between TCU, Colorado, and Iowa State, I could see them losing 2 of those games.
I could too.
I could see them losing all 3 of them, but
I could.
I don't think they will. I
Yeah.
could see them losing all 3. I don't think they will, but those are all 3 losable games.
My Colorado pendulum has swung back to I don't care about. Like I don't think they can lose that game again, but we'll see.
So if do these predictions exist in a vacuum?
Like I hope they do because I don't expect to be held to any of these.
Well, yeah, no, season. I mean, I was going to say like because based on your other one of them losing to Cincinnati, how would that play out then? They'd have to beat TCU,
when I made the
Colorado.
prediction, I wondered if you would call me on that, and I was like, you probably won't, and then you immediately did. So I don't really know. Yeah, you could count Cincinnati as, but like I said, I think you can be 3-2 and still be in the Big 12 title race because you still have games against Arizona and Utah and at West Virginia. Like you have those big matchups still, and you can like UCF is probably going to be in position multiple times this season to knock other teams out of the title race. Be playing games where it's like whoever loses this is out. I mean, that's probably gonna happen multiple times. That's just the kind of league this is.
How dumb would that be if they lost to Cincinnati? Sorry, if you're watching, if the YouTube video did go out, and I've explained this every few weeks, but I have the schedule on my wall. So like if you're wondering why I'm just staring at the wall or staring to the side talking, I'm looking at the schedule.
Wait, here, keep doing that. Keep looking at your wall.
Yeah, why?
Look, now it's like we're looking at each other.
Oh, I don't. Wait, is that how it's working? How dumb would it be if they lost to Cincinnati, but they did go on the road and beat Iowa State, and they
feels
won
like a thing that would happen with Gus. Like you were saying that, like wouldn't that be so dumb? That totally could happen. That they just lose the stupid random game against Cincinnati and then they go beat Iowa State. This conference is going to be so dumb because every single week anything can happen. Which I know that's always been college football's thing anyway, but it's so specifically true in this conference now that it just feels like every week is a total coin flip. I don't know. Maybe they'll win. Maybe they won't. I don't think there's a game on the schedule that they're going to go into the season where we're like, man, there's no way they win, and there's not going to be one where we're like, man, there's no way they lose. It's just not going to be a thing.
It's almost like evergreen season prediction for whether you want to say it's because because of the way the Big 12 is or because of Gus Malzahn. Like UCF will have a dumb season. There's your prediction. It'll be dumb in some way or another. It'll be dumb.
It would be funny if this season is like UCF's like whatever, they're 8-4, and their like legacy or their mark is they knocked like 4 different teams out of the Big 12 title race, but weren't actually in it themselves. Like took Utah out by beating them, took Iowa State out by beating them, like I don't know, Colorado, but then never actually were like in the race.
Would be funny because like to the rest of the Big 12 fan bases, like everyone would look at UCF like, wow, they've really been like good this year and they've been like annoying us, and then UCF fans would be miserable because they'd be like, well, if we won all these games, we should have just been in the title race.
Yeah, like cars are on fire. Like, yeah.
If we were good enough to win these games and knock these teams out of contention, why weren't we good enough to beat Arizona State?
That take has always really bothered me because people pull that a lot. Like UCF will beat a good team, and people were like, well, if they beat that good team, why they beat all the other good teams? And it's like, okay, because that's just not how the sport of football works. Really, any college football works, but
college football especially is like every week it does exist in a vacuum. It's
every week is a reset. Don't ever look at what happened last week and think that's going to tell you what's going to happen this week. It never ever works that way.
Recent example wasn't the week before UCF Oklahoma State. Wasn't it Bedlam? They beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And like the last ever Bedlam for now. And then they came to UCF and lost by 42.
Yeah. By 42.
A team that had just won its first game in like a month and a half.
And then UCF went on the road to Texas Tech and couldn't score after just running all over and throwing all over Oklahoma State for 3 hours in the rain.
Yeah. Because of the space game magic.
Space game magic. Tell me. I think I'm onto something with that. I do think there's something to be said about how it's a special game for UCF and it's not for the other team. I think maybe that's the secret.
Well, maybe this is the year that it gets ruined because so many Oklahoma State fans have been warning everyone about how that game should be taken seriously.
Yeah, but as far as I understand it, I don't believe Arizona is known for having fans, so I don't think that message is going to like get through to the team. That sounded
Maybe
harsher than
not.
I intended it. I just don't. It's a pretty small fan base from what I understand. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll surprise
Now
me.
that you say that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I haven't seen a lot of Arizona fans
It's a
on
thing.
social media.
They're big
I didn't know that
basketball
was a thing.
fans. They're not a lot like
I mean,
football isn't a huge deal there.
it's like Houston,
Just,
kind of,
oh,
right?
I,
Like
I just don't. I'm just not
Houston's got a
convinced.
sizable basketball fan base, don't they?
Do
They've
they have a
got to.
sizable basketball fan base, or they just have an arena that's not that big? Like I don't know.
I
I
don't
just
know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know where that was going to take us, but we'll finish this off with record predictions. I guess I've been going first on all this.
Did you do
So
a conference prediction too?
I
Prediction
did, and
overall. Okay.
was I supposed to?
Well, I did. I just wasn't sure if you did.
Okay. I was gonna just do a general one, but then I realized that was kind of a cop out because I don't know, I kind of have to make a stand here.
Which it's so something because
Um,
all the conference record is what happens in the Florida game. Like that's what
yeah,
adding
no,
that
that's
is.
why I
But
was like, I want to just do a general record and then not then no one knows which way I'm leaning about the Florida game. But I went with 8-4, 5-4 in the conference, which means they beat Florida, but they lose 4 conference games. I feel like you
I
went the
went
same
eight and
thing.
four, 5-4 in conference. I believe they beat
Yeah.
Florida and they lose some conference games. I believe that I'm penciling in, which by the way, this has been the most like bipolar offseason. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, they can't beat Florida. Now I'm like, they will beat Florida. This season is a nightmare already, and I don't know what's gonna happen. But I have absolute for sure losses are at Iowa State and at West Virginia. And then I think they lose 2 of some combo of TCU, Colorado, Arizona, and Utah
Hmm.
for 8-4.
That makes sense.
How do fans feel
Makes
about
sense.
that? You beat Florida 8-4. It's improvement. Pretty notable
I think
improvement over last year.
I mean, this is going to be the most ready for something obvious. They'll feel way different about 8-4 if they beat Florida than 8-4 versus like having lost to Florida. That's obvious, but
It's tough though because if they lose Florida and still get to 8-4, that means they went 6-3 in conference, which like might put them in contention for the Big 12 title, and probably means they won more games later in the season.
that's true. I don't know. I still think people would be more. Maybe I'm misreading the fan base, and it wouldn't be the
Yeah,
first
we
time.
might be.
But
My take is the bowl, honestly, which is dumb because I don't think they matter that much anymore. But like, there just feels like there's a chasm between 8-5 and 9-4. 8-5 is they were whatever. 9-4 is they actually are pretty solid. Like I don't know why that's the way
they
that
go
reads for
if
people,
they go
but it
nine
is.
and four again though. Like
How many nine
it's
and four
just like
seasons can you? Well, they've
yeah,
only had one
well,
9-4 season under Gus.
because the other one was 9-5,
Nine and
right?
five.
Yeah, it's just Gus's cap is going to be 9 wins here. Like that would
I'm
almost be.
telling you right now, I would have a very hard time throwing a fit about 9 wins year 2 in the Power Four. I'd have a hard time throwing a fit with that.
I think I would, depending. I mean, how they get there would also be probably my caveat because
Yeah,
that's how I felt last year. Was like as long as they get to a bowl, and by the end of it, I was like, yeah, as long as they get to a bowl, mission accomplished. But I hated like most of the season.
yeah, but they
So
got to a bowl in the dumbest way imaginable. Like they didn't
exactly,
win for
if they
six
get to
weeks. Like we
if they
never
get to I
imagined.
don't know.
When we predicted
Is
6-6 in my head, it was like you win one, you lose one, you win one, you lose one. It wasn't like you win one, you win one, you win one, you don't do anything for 6 weeks, then you win a few more. Like I just never imagined that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't know. Again, like the closer we get to the season, the more I just feel doomed, which is great. I can't wait for college football. I love it.
Yeah, you
Favorite time of the
you
year.
seem really excited.
I really am though. Like I don't have to tell you. Like I text you like every day, and I'm like, man, we're getting closer.
Yeah, but we do this
It's
every year.
close.
Is you and me text each other back and forth. I feel like we've talked about this. I feel like you and I have literally probably 10 times in the last 4 days just said, so excited for college football. And then the person replies, yeah, man. And that's the entire conversation. I was miserable all of last
Dudes
season.
rock.
Dudes rock. I was miserable all of last season with UCF. I was miserable most of 2022. I was really miserable in 2021 and 2020. Like I haven't actually enjoyed a UCF football season in probably 5 years. But right now I'm like, I cannot wait for this season.
Because for me, it's more than UCF. Like, yeah, if UCF loses a game on a
Yes.
Saturday, it'll ruin my day. But I'll feel a little bit better because I get to watch like other cool games throughout the day
And that's the
throughout
thing,
the
like we've
weekend.
talked about before. You and I are diehard college football fans. Like I'm so excited for week 0. This is my happy time. And
I think there's like
even if UCF hurts me, it'll still be my happy time.
I think week 0 has like one game. Like it's the Georgia Tech Florida State game that I'm like, but I'll watch the other games. I don't
There
even
was
remember what
another
else
one
is
I
going
wanted to
on.
watch. I can't use my phone right now because of the internet, but there was
I
another one
can.
I was
I've got my
interested in.
viewing guide that I'll go to the top, which I finished the other day, by the way.
Because let's be
The other one
clear,
I have is SMU at Nevada.
that might
Those
have
are the
been the
two
other
that I
one
have.
because I want to see SMU with the ACC package.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, we're getting close. And then week one slate's great. Week 2, I
So
think is
wouldn't
even
it be
better.
so funny if Florida State just lost to Georgia Tech like to start the season? Wouldn't that just be like a hilarious way to kick off things?
Yeah, if I could sign up for it right now, I would. I don't know why I wouldn't, but
Sign up for it? Like
yeah, I
what?
don't know why. Well, that's a saying, right? Yeah, if I could sign up for that right now, I would.
I think it's a
I could
saying
sign
for
up to
like
see
TV
that.
subscriptions,
Yeah, it
not
made
for
no
like when a
no, it's
game
no, come
happens.
on, get out of here. No, it's not. Whatever. Leave me alone.
Okay.
All right. Football news, which is largely a bunch of watch lists. RJ Harvey was named to the Doak Walker Award watch list. Kobe Hudson named to the Blitnikoff Award watch list. KJ Jefferson, I think this was like his third or fourth watch list. He was named to the Davey O'Brien Award watch list. And then I know this was the third for Lee Hunter, named to the Bednarik Award watch list. I don't know how many that is for UCF, but it's a lot. And it doesn't really mean anything, does it? But it's fun. I enjoy it because it means we're very close. Um, Four-star wide receiver Javon Boggs. Is it Javon or Javin?
I
I
believe it's
don't know.
Javon.
Javon. Okay.
Could be
Javon
wrong.
Boggs flipped from Missouri to UCF, which that came out of nowhere to me. And
We did
it
a whole
ended.
like 10 minutes on this podcast about what a huge miss that was for UCF that he chose Missouri. And then he just randomly one night said surprise. And I don't think anyone knew that was coming. I don't think there'd been like a peep about that.
I'm gonna
Um,
say it ended quite the saga of like because
this class was
wasn't he
Ohio
originally
State.
with somebody Ohio State?
He was
Yeah.
committed to Ohio State, decommitted from Ohio State after, which I don't know if it was a decommit. It's not like Ohio State straight up dropped him, but it was like he was like, I'm committed, and then proceeded to just continue to act like a recruit and take visits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were getting frustrated. Then everyone's like, he's obviously coming to UCF. He commits to Missouri out of nowhere, does that for a few weeks, then commits to UCF. So I'm hoping things are done now. But
Wasn't his quote something like it took me long enough or something like that?
yeah,
He was like, and I'm like, yeah. I mean,
this
I thought this
UCF
was
recruiting class is getting scary though. Number 22 in the country, like literally number 22 in the country. If you're going by rivals, which you don't usually go by, but we will right now because it's the highest number 13 in the country,
it's
which
what
is
UCF would go by.
insane, dude. Like I mean, seriously, I don't know how many more years we have to have the conversation of wow, they're having their best recruiting class ever. But and listen, there's a road to go, but they're actually flirting with finishing in the top 25 right now, which is A, amazing no matter what, and B, is so ahead of what most of the Big 12 is doing right now. The way they're acquiring talent is crazy. It's been so freaking impressive to watch it play out.
Yeah, definitely. Couple more things. UCF and Orlando Health, Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children will recognize Childhood Cancer Awareness Month on September 7th for UCF's game against Sam Houston. Like they did in the spring game, UCF will wear helmet decals designed by the pediatric patients. This is a really cool thing. It was a really cool thing during the spring game, and so to see them bring it back for the Sam Houston game is going to be really fun.
Yep.
I'm already like curious of like what we'll see because we saw some very interesting ones in spring, so that'll be
I do
fun.
think it's very, very cool they're doing that for an in-season game. It was cool for the spring game, and Sam Houston's kind of the perfect game where it's like, you have an opportunity to spotlight that. I don't know. It's gonna be family weekend too. I just love that a lot.
Yeah,
I'm really
I
happy
said
they're
the
doing
family
that.
weekend ties like it makes it even better too. So that's all really cool. Last thing, something that you referenced earlier, the initial AP Top 25 dropped on Monday, and includes five Big 12 teams. Number 12, Utah, who UCF will play on Black Friday. Number 17, Oklahoma State. Number 18, Kansas State. Number 21, Arizona, who I've already predicted UCF will beat because of the space game. And number 22, Kansas. So I don't know why, but seeing five Big 12 teams that surprised me. Did it surprise you?
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
Less than it would have a month ago because some writers are starting to post their ballots and there was
Mm.
more Big 12 love there than I was anticipating. But there's been so much talk, especially in the offseason, of the Big 10 and SEC are just their own thing now. And, that's the power too and whatever. I'd kind of bought into like, oh, I wonder if everyone's just going to hate on the Big 12 now. And they're like, no, putting five teams. So literally that, which it's preseason, it doesn't mean anything. But
Yeah.
when people get all grumbly on Twitter, like these don't mean anything. A, none of this means anything. It's a sport we made up. And B, the whole point. What?
that was deep. We did
I'm
make
just
up the
saying, I get
sport.
whenever people talk about doesn't matter, I'm like, none of it matters. It's sports, but we literally invented all of this for our own enjoyment. So let me look at the number next to the
Feels
team and have
very
thoughts on it.
feels very all words are made up.
All words are made up. But my other thing with it is the preseason AP poll, what it is more than anything is it's a measurement of the pulse and respect of any given conference, just in the national narrative. And what that showed is that media still think the Big 12 is a really good conference. I mean, and also it
Mhm.
sets the stage for some of these teams to, it creates high. I remember Chris Vanini wrote an article once about how the AAC like took off, and he said that it was the events of UCF built this brand for itself. Then Cincinnati beat UCF, and was like, oh, Cincinnati. Then Memphis beat Cincinnati, and it was like, whoa, Memphis. And that kind of like,
Mhm.
it's like rising tide lifts all boats. It's like, so now the Big 12 will have the opportunity for all these early ranked matchups instead of, it's easier to stay there if you're already there. You know what I mean? Like even if these teams lose, then instead of it just being like, oh, that team beat Arizona, it's, oh, they beat number 22 Arizona. Maybe we rank them. And that kind of just keeps the ball rolling for the conference. So it's exciting for sure.
Yeah, because it's like if someone beats number 22 Kansas and that team is 3-1, they're like, oh, well, maybe Kansas isn't in the top 25 anymore, but this Big 12 team that just beat them at 3-1 is going to be number 24. So like stuff like that. So yeah, good for the conference. UCF got no votes, not surprising. I think 3 other teams got votes. I didn't write them down. I think Colorado was one of them.
Colorado got 1 single vote.
Do you remember who else? I'm blanking completely.
I know. Sorry. I'm on a cruise, man. I'm not paying attention.
I've
texted you about it a million times in the last couple hours, but other than that, I'm not paying attention.
They don't really care. That's fine. All right, game of the week. UCF women's soccer is starting their regular season this Thursday at 7:00. They play at FAU, and this will be the first fall sports regular season game. I saw the other day that they drew Miami, I think 1-1 Saturday, and men's soccer, I believe, won their exhibition. But yeah, real season starts Thursday for UCF women's soccer at FAU.
That actually got my blood pumping. Like I didn't realize that was this week. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Sports are back.
When sports are back.
Yes.
Yeah. When you get back from your cruise, is this something you're gonna have to like watch on your cruise?
Yeah, I'll have to watch it on the cruise, which is ridiculous, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because that's how we roll.
Use your internet for an ESPN Plus stream.
There was a cruise a couple years ago. I go on a lot of cruises, guys. If you've listened for any amount of time, you know that. You can judge me, and that's fine, but I'm on a cruise.
You mean everybody? You don't even have to have been listening for a long time. You can just listen to what Christian said at the beginning of the podcast, where he said this is the second podcast we've recorded on a cruise.
There you go. This is the last cruise I was on was with you.
Yeah, they were on this time last year.
This is my first cruise without Bailey in a year. Yeah, it was like a year ago last week. Yeah. But there was a cruise a few years ago where the ship I was on had like a sports bar area, and it was like in March, so UCF basketball was in the AAC tournament, and which it was like one of the years they weren't any good, and I was like, I've got to have no plan so I can go watch this. And I remember made friends with this guy. I chatted with briefly this guy next to me who was like, oh, are you a UCF fan? Like, yeah. And he was like, oh, I'm a Gator fan. I'm like, oh, cool. And he was like, yeah, I didn't like go there, but and I was just like, okay, like,
all right, this conversation's over. Oh yeah. Well, I will be watching UCF women's soccer at FAU on Thursday, and Christian will also while he's at sea. So that's cool.
Very exciting.
Tweet of the week.
Tweet of the week. I didn't save it, and I can't get internet on my phone.
So you need me to pull? I don't know how I'm going to pull it up, but you want to just describe it, and I can see if I can find it.
Yeah. So go to my Twitter. This is so stupid. Go to my Twitter.
I will do that.
And go to my tweet making fun of the ACC.
Your tweet making fun of the ACC. Okay, found it.
Okay, go to the USF fans reply.
I had them muted. Because I was like, what USF fans reply? And then I said, you have this account muted. And then I clicked on it. So this is full disclosure.
He's tweet of the week. I made fun of the ACC, which just for fun. When the Big 12, when the preseason poll dropped, I pointed out that, ACC fans like to say the Big 12 is not a power conference. And yet the Big 12, A, has more teams ranked in the ACC, and B, half of the ACC's ranked teams are currently in active litigation against the conference attempting to be able to exit it. And full disclosure weighed in with his tweet.
I find it most wild that the Big 12 belittles the ACC nonstop, but cannot stop begging for their teams. Thinking emoji.
So I'm giving that tweet of the week for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that I hate that account. And the second reason is that every time I ever tweet anything USF related, which is fairly regularly, I get replies from that exact account and a bunch of other accounts who are like, rent free in your head. Like, you just blah, 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 rent free, rent free, rent free. What about a conversation about the Big 12 versus the ACC is something where a USF fan would have to weigh in? How is that not rent free? When you are coming to my Twitter, how are you finding me? Are you following me? It has nothing to do with your team.
You don't understand, Christian. USF's going to the ACC, so they must defend the ACC at all costs.
Is that what it is? Is that actually seriously what it is?
There has to be an element to it with that. I believe that's the case.
I've said this take before, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's not just because we are exposed to them more. I genuinely believe that USF fans are actually the most delusional fan base in all of college football. There is no larger disconnect in the entire sport between what a program is and what its fans think it is. And you might be saying, oh, UCF claiming a national championship. USF fans make that look like freaking light work, man. This is a program that no one has even heard of out of the state of Florida, and because they were number 2 for a single week 15 years ago before falling off the mat completely, they think that they are God's gift to the sport of football. And it is the most shocking behavior I have ever come across in all my years of college football fandom on a national level is that fan base and where they think they fit in the college football ecosystem. Shocking behavior. Do you remember when Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving for the SEC and UCF fans were like, oh, dang, we're going to get to the Big 12. And USF fans were like, yeah, bro, us too. And then the Athletic was like, breaking news, USF isn't even being considered for a spot in the Big 12 because, and the article literally said, because they don't have fans. That was an actual thing reported by the Athletic. And they think they are like Miami and FSU. It's fantastic. It's, I look forward to their continued failings throughout the years. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, wild fan base. Cool. That's it. Made it. We're
done.
End.
We did it.
Thank everybody for listening. Appreciate it. I said thank everybody for listening, not thank you everybody for listening, but thank you everyone for listening. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with episode 220 as we get even closer to week 1 and very, very close to week 0. But until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at by CA Simmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We will talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.